Now that you wrote your own application, how do you upload it to the community application library so you can share it with other members of the community? That is what we will cover in this submodule. Let's say that you have an application source code that you would like to publish to CAL. This can be either an application that you wrote on your own from scratch, or perhaps an application that you cloned from CAL and only modified. In my case, I cloned the quantum key distribution application. I called it the demo app, and I simply modified the description, which you can see here. Before uploading an application to CAL, we need to make sure that it's a valid application and that it has all the relevant files. This means checking that there is the manifest.json file, which I'm showing here, that there is a source folder with the source code for all the roles in the application, and there is a config folder, which contains 3 files. File describing the inputs to the application, file describing the network parameters, such as here, and a file describing how to display the results. We dive deeper into how each of these files looks like in a previous submodule. We can validate that an application is correct by using the validate command, like this. We can see that the demo app application is valid. Now that we have a complete application, let's say that we want to upload this to CAL. We can upload it through QNE-ADK using the upload command. Whenever you're not sure which parameters a command in QNE-ADK needs, you can use the help flag, which shows the usage of the command. Here we see that we only need to supply the application name to be able to upload it. So we can do just that. Note that there is a difference between uploading and publishing an application. Uploading an application means that it is not yet publicly visible. Only you can see it through QNE-ADK or when you log in with your credentials to the QNE website. We can see by listing the applications that our demo app appears in the list of remote applications here, but it is not yet public, so not all the users can see it. What needs to happen in order for the application to be public? Well, we need to publish it, and to be able to publish it, we first need to run an experiment. This is a check to make sure that everything works as it should and that the application can successfully run. Running an experiment for an uploaded application can be done either through QNE-ADK or through the online QNE platform. We've already covered how to run an experiment when we were exploring the QNE Community Application Library, and we ran an application in the online platform in that submodule. So this time, let's try it using QNE-ADK. First, we need to create an experiment. We can again check which parameters are needed with the help flag. Here we see that we need to supply 3 parameters: the experiment name, the application name, and the network name. So let's create an experiment that is based on a remote application. Let's call it demo experiment, and we'll be using the demo app and, for example, the European network. We can see that an experiment was successfully created. We can even see it appear here in the directory. And now we simply need to run the experiment. So run demo experiment. Now, this experiment was successfully sent to the server and executed. Now that we successfully ran an experiment, we can publish the application using the publish command, specifying we want to publish the demo app. Now that the application was published successfully, we can check that it shows up in the list of applications, and we can now see in the last line here that the application is public. Now, we successfully published an application, but what if you want to modify something? Either you can modify the files that you have locally on your computer and go again through the loop of uploading and publishing an application. But in case you happen to delete the local folder, you can also use the fetch command to simply retrieve all the necessary files again. So we want to fetch the demo app. Note that you can only do this as the author of the application. We can see that the demo app appears again, and we can double check that the description is the same that we uploaded. With this submodule, we conclude the topic of the QNE Application Development Kit. You should know how to use QNE-ADK to clone existing applications, to write your own, and to publish them to the community application library. This allows you to share them with other members of the community.